This is a topic, as a matter of fact, that woke me up from a sound sleep. As a matter of fact, I had a dream about it and then it woke me up, and it was a few months ago. And I keep a notepad beside my bed like my mentor Zig Ziglar taught me to do. And so I wrote down these 3 words that kept coming to my mind, and then I went back to sleep. I filed them in my notes and I would see them every once in a while, and I haven't written anything about them or talked about them. And then today I thought, it's time we talk about these things, because as I'm coaching clients and as I'm working with consulting and as I'm speaking on stage, these resistances, or I should say these reactions, keep coming up. And it's really fascinating because it had started to affect how I would even teach or train or consult about these things. I want to talk about 3 simple words, and these words are this: adopt, attack, or adapt. Those are 3 responses: adopt, attack, or adapt. And you may have one response in one area, such as physicality, but another response in another area, such as financial, right? So I'm not going to say that your reflex or your reaction is the same in every area, and I'm going to give you lots of examples about this today. What I am going to say is that self-awareness is the most powerful tool we have as achievers. Write it down. Self-awareness is the most powerful tool we have as achievers. Meaning, when we don't react in emotion, when we don't react based on circumstance or politics or crisis, when we can step back and be self-aware of why we are reacting that way by firing off that email or that comment or disregarding that person or whatever that looks like, when we are self-aware, we can then change our reaction, understand the root cause of our reaction, and then do different, right? Maya Angelou says, we know better, we do better. Let's talk a little bit about physical changes. So my friend that I actually went to high school with, Holly, I see Holly in the room right now. Holly just started a new business, and she's coaching and helping people with health and wellness and working with ketosis and low carb. And you guys know that is the way that I have lost the majority of my weight and kept it off. I'm a big fan of that method. But here's what those of us know that have experienced health changes. This is how people respond. And this is why I don't love to talk about my weight journey with people, honestly. Because I always say people are divided 3 ways. People will say, oh, that's what Carrie did? That's absolutely what I need to do. I'm going to adopt that and do it. Period. End of story. It worked for her. It should work for me. Sometimes that's positive, not always. We have to know what works for us. We have to be willing to think critically, and we have to be willing to investigate, because the truth is, if I have a friend that lost a lot of weight on a vegetarian, high carbohydrate diet, and I adopted that quickly and blindly, that is not how my body is designed. As a matter of fact, I followed Susan Powter in the 90s. I did the low fat insanity, stop the insanity plan, and gained weight following all her rules. So some people will blindly adopt and follow. And then we sometimes call this the shiny object syndrome. You adopt what they're doing, and you adopt what they're doing, and you adopt what he's doing and what she's doing, and you're just quick to adopt all the different things, or hack them or piece them or Frankenstein them all together, and then nothing works. So you have to be careful about adopt being your immediate reaction. Okay, so be careful with that. And I'm even saying, those of you watching this, like, keto may not be your solution. So don't just jump on keto because I said that's what I do. But people would do this. People would say, oh, I'm going to do that because that's what Carrie's doing. Or people would say this. They would attack. That's response number 2, attack. Well, I knew somebody that did that. or I tried that before, or I read a study that said, and they immediately justify why that will not work for them. They immediately dismiss the success story. They immediately disregard that person's success and give themselves reasons, excuses, legitimizations, and justifications for why that won't work for them. They disregard the discipline, they disregard the study, they disregard the fact that it's taken me, 15 years to get physically where I am now. They want to disregard and attack why it won't work for them. This happens with physical changes. This happens with marital changes. Well, that won't work because my husband XYZ. Well, that won't work because this happens with paying off debt. Guys, I see this every day in Dave Ramsey's Instagram feed. Somebody will post a success story that they paid off $100,000 within X amount of time. And there are people legit happy for them. And then there are people like, well, if I made the kind of money you made, I could do that too. Well, if I was married, I could do that too. Well, if I didn't live in Southern California, I could do that too. People immediately attacking without knowing the process or being able to adjust for the circumstances. So number one, we're too quick to adopt, or number two, we are too quick to attack. Do you see how sometimes we do this about money changes, physical changes, business growth, moving to a new area, having kids, not having kids, adopting, whatever it is, whatever the change is, these tend to be our responses, right? You might even say these are our primal responses, like how we're genetically programmed. The third I think is so necessary. And remember what I said, self-awareness is your best tool as a go-getter and goal setter. Number 3 is to adapt. And what does that mean in this case? Adapt means we look at what has worked for other people. We investigate briefly, decisively. We don't attack or dismiss or react. We look at what we are willing to do and ready to do and able to do, and we apply. So adapt to that goal strategy using whatever vehicle makes sense to you. So maybe keto isn't for you, but you say, the truth is I can learn a lot from Holly's discipline, or the truth is I can learn a lot from knowing that macronutrients matter, or the truth is I can learn a lot from that person that paid off that debt, and while my income may look very different, or my family situation or my geography may look different, I can apply and adapt some of those principles to what I'm trying to do, rather than throwing your hands up in the air and saying, that won't work for me. I've tried that before. I'm just gonna eat the rest of the cake and realize that I just am doomed to stay the way that I am forever. Guys, we are using these reactions to stay where we are, to firmly hold on to our limitations. When you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. When you fight for your excuses and your justifications and your reason why that won't work, you prove yourself right every time. Every time. Because no one can adapt for you. No one can adapt what you put in your mouth or how you move your body. No one can adapt how you're making your phone calls or if you're getting up and getting dressed every day. One of the biggest pushbacks I get when I'm working with home-based business owners is the fact that I say get up and get dressed every day. Guys, I get up and get dressed like this every single day. I'm in shorts. I have on just a top and I've brushed my hair. I do have on makeup today because I'm doing video, but it's still super easy. It's a 10-minute process. If you fight for your justifications of why you can stay in your pajamas all day, that's okay, but you also need to know that's affecting your results, your mindsets, your professionalism, and what's next. So I'm going to challenge you to stop fighting for your limitations and start fighting for new expectations. And when you see somebody that has paid off a huge amount of debt, instead of fighting for why you can't, adapt how you think, adapt your self-awareness, adapt your processes. Doesn't mean you have to adopt and go move to where they are or have the same job that they have or wait until you're married like they are or wait till you're divorced like they are or whatever that happens to be. It means you need to be able to be, maybe a good word is adept, A-D-E-P-T. Maybe we need to be more adept at adapting what can be possible. You guys know my heart and my soul is helping you see what's possible in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in how you can juggle it all and have it all. Me helping you see what's possible, but you have to do your part. You have to be adept and you have to adapt and you have to take action and fight. Fight for what you want and fight for what serves your family and stop fighting for what serves your selfish and your now. Stop fighting for what you want now and start fighting for what you ultimately want. Y'all, I had chia seed pudding this morning. Sugar-free chia seed pudding. 3 years ago, if you had told me I would be eating a chia seed, I would have told you you were insane, that somebody like me did not eat that way. But I have adapted. I've become adept at trying new things, at researching healthy options and knowing what works for me. Okay, let's do another example. When you're in business, let's say you're growing a business or you start a new business and we've already talked about the bright shiny, like too quick to adopt. Oh, they're doing Facebook ads. That must be what I need to do. I'm gonna go jump into that. Well, I also, oh, look, they're doing funnels. I need to go jump into funnels. I need to do that. Don't blindly adopt without having some context behind it. Now, I'm not saying be slow to adopt. I'm not saying you have to research everything to the nth degree. I do think some action is necessary to move forward. But get one voice in your head, one coach in your head, one success story in your head, and turn off the rest of the noise. Unsubscribe the majority of email lists that you're on, y'all. You're just waiting to listen to something that tickles your ears. Stop it. Listen to the one that you trust. Take their advice. Don't have conflicting advice in your head. When you are an adopter, that is dangerous for you, having too many voices in your head. So you say, okay, in business, that means I need to adopt this one strategy. Good, positive, that's great. But you might say, you know, I can't work my business like her. So we'll go back to my friend Holly, because I know she's safe. Holly might say, well, my upline does it this way and I can't do it that way because I've got kids this age and because I live out in Alvin and because she's attacking how that person does instead of being aware, being adept, and adapting to how can I make this work for me. See the difference? I'm going to challenge you to be adept and to adapt the strategies that you see, the strategies that you hear. I believe in words. I believe in words. I believe in affirmation. I believe in not speaking negativity. My poor kids, bless their hearts, having a mom as a motivational speaker is it's a hard life, because I'll say, no, let's rephrase that. No, that's negative. We're not going to claim that. We're not going to say that. But listen to this. I had a client, a consulting client, that messaged, actually she posted on Facebook last month, and she said, I just have to give a shout out to Carrie Wilkerson for something I learned from her last year. She said, we were about to cancel our vacation because we couldn't afford it. And then I heard her voice in my head saying, how can I afford it? So she got out her customer list. She sold some things. She called her customers. She created some new packages in her business, and she created the cash in order to go because she changed the strategy in her brain. She could have adopted a different plan, like credit card debt or canceling. She could have attacked it and said, I can't afford this. I can't afford this because my business is not making it as much. I'm just gonna have to cancel it because it just is what it is. Or she could be self-aware and be adept and adapt to raise that money. How can I afford this? That's a conversation we have here at this house all the time. How can we afford that? How can we afford that? How are you speaking to yourself? I talked to another client this morning and I said, we need to address some mental issues we're dealing with right now, meaning how you're thinking. She had some stinking thinking, is what Zig Ziglar used to call that. I said, you've convinced yourself that this component of your business is hard. You keep saying it. And you've convinced yourself you're believing that to be true. Stop that mess. Stop that mess. I keep waiting for somebody to do a boomerang of that. I say that so much on stage. Stop that mess and talk to yourself a different way, a more positive way. Attainable, my coach says attainable, but a stretch, right? No, attainable but significant. Set your goals to be attainable but significant. So still a stretch, still a little discomfort, but figure that out. So I want you to do this. Take the temperature of how you are reacting to things, whether it's physically, politically, financially, relationally, business, parenting. Is your reaction to quickly adopt and abandon? Is it to quickly attack and dismiss because you don't want to put the work behind it or figure it out? Or is it to be adept and adapt? Guys, this woke me up in the middle of the night. I had a dream about it months ago. I've been wanting to talk to you about it. I think if we're self-aware, it's our best tool. Listen, I love working with you. I love encouraging you. And the fact is, I'm talking to me too. In all these areas, we're human. We struggle. We have these conversations in our head. And we need to change the conversation.